Sweet eternal balance of all that is good, true, and beautiful, friends. My guest today is an honor to have with me. He is an author and a speaker, a doer and a beer, a follower of his heart and expresser of truths, a man of character, integrity, and strength, and most importantly, someone who is not afraid to keep questioning his own conclusions and following where the truth takes him. Author of 2 books, The Spell of 6 Dragons and Blueprint of Mind Control, James True, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Before we get started, I want to remind people that Rogue Ways is part of the Eyes Open network. Eyes Open provides a dynamic and multifaceted echo-free space to think and reflect on the myriad convolutions of the modern world. We also have a network of goods and services, podcasts, and shows, all of which support minds that are awake and aware and hearts that are open and true. Come check it out at www.rogueways.org or in the Eyes Open group on Facebook or MeWe. We would love to connect with you as always. And in classic Rogue Ways style, I'm going to start with the pointless question of the episode, which is never quite pointless after all. But James, what would you say is your favorite simple pleasure in life?
Animals.
Oh. What do you have animals?
Well, they're all around us. So, yeah, I absorb wherever I can. I had a baby woodpecker in my hand yesterday. He came in for breakfast and got confused and
wow.
Was able to pick him up, and it just, man, animals are the coolest, most amazing thing, that there is, for sure.
That's so awesome. He just randomly came in the window and...
Well, I've cut this, you can't see on the other side, but I've cut this large hole in my house, and so literally right above the camera is a hummingbird feeder, and
cool.
And then my woodpecker feeder, and then the regular bird feeder, and I'm on the 3rd story. In fact, I had an interview last night and a raccoon was up on the deck. So it's just,
oh wow,
this is the most amazing place to work. And I just took a Sawzall a couple months ago and was just like, I'm cutting a hole here, and
it's awesome.
Yeah, I haven't been in my office. My office is actually back behind me. I haven't been in there since I did this. This has been my new avenue. So
that is so cool. So you just have it open. There's no screen or window, so they can like come in and...
Yeah, it's full on open. At night, I have a little, mosquito curtain that I pull across, but I light the tiki torches, and it's cool because I can sit outside and look in the house, or I can sit inside and look out the house. And I've got a nice big marble slab. I'm sorry, none of you guys can see this, but I've got a nice big marble slab that's maple slab that I've got here in between, and it's so dope, man.
So is this the house that you built yourself, or?
No. I got this house about 10, 15 years ago.
Okay, but you just modify it at will. That's so awesome.
I cut maybe 7 holes in it with the Sawzall. This is my 7th hole. Each one gets better. So
I love it.
Yeah, this is probably my favorite hole so far.
That is so cool. I think like those are the types of things that people would never consider doing because they're like caught up on the value of it or like how other people will see it. Yeah. But it's like you're the one who's living there and that's your enjoyment. I've
always been very anti that. In fact, I'll usually come in and kind of mark the territory so that I know there's no way I can preserve the original value of this thing. It's kind of like my way of saying this is mine. This is, I claim this as my space, not as my investment. So, but it's actually, I think the next person will love this bar, but there's definitely some other holes I made that they'll be like, why did you cut that hole there? So
yeah. Well, that's the thing. I feel like I would want that house probably, and I would love it. So there's always someone who is going to love it, but also that idea of like coming in and claiming the space of making it yours. The reason why I don't know if I'd be good at that is I like jump around so much. Like I move a lot, and so I would be like cutting it up and then I'd be like trying to sell it like a year later.
Yeah.
Whereas you've been there for 10 or 15 years, it sounds like. So I guess that works better for you. But now I'm envious. I kind of want to live more like that instead of jumping around a lot.
Yeah.
You get to enjoy that so much.
Yeah, there's benefits to both for sure. So I'll go through issues where maybe I'll rent it out for a while or something. But that's always been a disaster. It's always been a disaster. So anyway.
Well, I had just one more note on this topic. And I had a friend who was really into collage art. And one day she was like thinking about painting her walls. And then she's like, screw it. I'm gonna collage my walls. And so she made this amazing these walls of collage, and they're all kind of show like the spectrum of color, you know, going through like the rainbows and like merging into each other, and it's gorgeous, like it's beautiful. And she's created this, and it's like the same sort of thing, you know, like she's like, well, I live here now and it's what I want. If somebody wants something else later, then they can change it to that. And I'm like, that's so, it's brave in a way, but it's also just simple and true. You know?
Yeah.
I love
wouldn't
it.
Brave as much as just really just into the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing that's I've been thinking about lately, because people have told me that I'm brave for some of the things I do. And I'm like, I don't consider that brave, but I see that that someone else sees that as brave. And so this idea of like, what is brave is maybe just more about what we ourselves would be willing to do or not do, or what we see would be, you know, outside of our own comfort zone.
Yeah.
And then it's not for someone else. So
yeah, for sure.
So this is a random question too, but do you want to tell me about that window that's behind you with the crest on it or whatever?
When I bought this house, it wasn't there. It was in the window. And I was like crossing my fingers. I really hope that stained glass is there after they, you know, sell it to me. And they had it, so I mounted it up there and put a light. And this is a total accident. It looks like I built this set, and I have like a light up here. But I swear that it's just worked out that when I first sat down, I was like, I wonder if I can do a Skype from here. And I was like, oh my God, you can see the window, because I can really see it. I did all the work to put it up there. But because of where I sit, I never really get to see it. So I put that in like 7 years ago. And ever since I've been doing interviews, I'm like, I can finally see the light. This is really cool.
That's so cool. So that's not to outside, that just gets lit up by the random chance. Wow.
That's an attic. Yeah, that's my sleeping attic I've got up there. It's
an
extra bedroom just in case. I mean, no one's ever used it, but that's what I built it for. And I flick on the light and that turns on the stained glass. So
that's so cool.
I know.
I love it. All right. So where did you start in life? Like, where are you from, and how did you kind of grow up, if you don't mind sharing?
I like pre-second grade, I was in Florida, and then from there I moved up to Tennessee. I did most of my schooling in Tennessee, in the mountains, Appalachian Mountains there, a place called Signa Mountain. Chattanooga means land that comes to a point. It's where a 7 mile long Lookout Mountain actually converges at this really sacred site where the river bends. There's a giant snake mountain there. And that was my home. I went to school there. I mean, I don't mean I lived in the mound, but like I lived in that city. And that's where I grew up and went to school. And then got in a van and started traveling around. And then I did a lot of traveling, and then came back here. But I'm now in North Carolina. So I'm still in the Appalachian Mountains, but I'm much higher elevation and a little bit further. I'm on the other side of the Smoky Mountains than. So. Oh
wow! So you traveled around in a van a bit as a young person, kind of traveling the country.
Yeah. When I finished college, and I joined the Navy to pay for college. I was in the reserves though, but then the Iraq War happened and they activated me. So I spent about a year on active duty. Came back, finished my college, and then did what I always wanted to do right out of high school. But I wanted my family to be pleased with me going. Happy to raise me, and I did what I wanted to do, which was travel. I bought a air-cooled Volkswagen van, 1971, in fact, and headed out west. And started spending time at campgrounds. Basically lived in campgrounds out of that van for a couple years. And had a job in a wilderness camp for troubled kids, purely by accident. I was driving around and just kind of found this place. And they said, if you stay here overnight, we'll give you a job. And I was like, okay. And did that for a while. So I was still camping. It was a perfect job because it was like 3 days on, 4 days off. So as long as I kind of stayed around that region, it really worked out well. And I got to work with kids and learn about psychology, learn about alchemy, really. Working with those kids was really the first art I ever did, was learning how to kind of mind judo those kids, like get them back into these are kids that would normally have been going to prison, but right before prison, they're allowed to come to this wilderness camp. So this is kind of the worst of the worst as far as behavior goes. So it was really, really challenging. I learned Psycho Judo really fast there. That was some hard work. Did that for a year. I was fired. Very horrible firing.
Wow.
Yeah, I just talked about this in another interview, but I was told that I was terrible at it. That they more wanted it to run kind of like a prison, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I actually felt like I was really over the target, kicking some ass.
I was
But
going to say you're probably actually rehabilitating and being effective, and that's not necessarily what people want,
I
and it
didn't want
makes
to
them
say that.
feel, yeah,
Yeah, I didn't want to say that because it sounds like I'm presenting myself as when I was the only one that it's but seriously, I'm
yeah.
telling you, that's what happened. They were like, you're not you keep finding teachable moments, and we
Hmm.
just want you to run this like a prison. And it yeah, it was I was so upset when they fired me. I've been
Yeah.
fired before, but that just I really wanted to stay, and I was doing some really good. Man, we were kicking some ass. Those kids were awesome. In fact, I still know two of them, but it
That's cool.
yeah, it was a
Well,
bummer.
that's if you're still connected with them, then that proves the point that you're actually very effective because people don't stay connected unless there's an emotional positive bond,
Yeah,
usually.
yeah,
Usually.
yeah. I think so too. I mean, they should say that, but yeah, I'm definitely really proud that we're still in touch and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So
And that there are also probably kids who still remember you from back then who are never have never reached back out to tell you that, because that's how
mhm.
that goes too.
Yeah,
But
well,
this
that's
is
how
like,
alchemy works. Yeah, that's what we're all doing to each other, regardless of if we're getting paid or not. We have the
right.
opportunity to transmute our world, and doing that there, nothing was more important. Not, the every day there was like a really important ritual. I just it was just amazing. It was amazing the things that were coming to me to try. We were just so many experiments and therapy, breaking through barriers. We used a group fire as a conduit for that. So every night
Awesome.
we had a group fire, and we would bring things to that fire. But more importantly, we were calling each other out on some stuff. And I can't tell you how many times 11-year-old would call me on my stuff, and next thing I know, I'm like bawling, like I'm
Yeah.
crying my eyes out in the middle of the woods with 12 kids, and it's just, but that's how powerful the therapy was. That's how,
Yeah.
and we were touching the land. We were connected to that land. We would find Indian money, which is in the
Wow.
old Dry Creek beds, or these like there's a certain kind of shell basically, where when it used to be underwater, and those things we would collect, and we had our own economy built off those things that we traded. Those things were earned. We kept them in medicine bags. The longer they built up kind of the energy, or what I call now prana, that I'm not saying I invented that word, but I'm just
No.
saying
Yeah.
prana, that they could pull these Indian monies out and give them to each other, which was just such a powerful gesture, that they would do with each other, was sharing.
How cool.
It was the most incredible thing I've ever done. It's something that I want to do again. I really want to open a campground and make it an alternative to college, where you would come in on like a 6 weeks intensive program and basically be deprogrammed. The
Yes.
motto would be, "We have much to unlearn."
Oh
And
my
it's
God.
this system where you're coming into this campground and you're shedding all of the bullshit, and you're
Yes.
rebuilding yourself back up. Very similar, actually, to a Navy boot camp. It's really very similar to that program. There's a therapeutic idea to that kind of resurrection, and I think we all need that. In fact, we all used
Yeah.
to have that before Tico, before the moral cannibalism. In with our culture around 1700s, we had a different system where kids would have a vision quest. They would find their
Yes.
name. There was a whole different aspect to growing up. It was more of a portal or a threshold versus something that's just ignored right now.
Well, I'm like 100% would love to be involved with that if that is something that you actually do, because that's my background is in teaching. I don't know if you know that about me, and that that idea that you're talking about, which is so powerful. I think that you went in and had your shit called out by some of these kids. That level of vulnerability is exactly what I think is helps make that such a transformative experience, obviously for you, but for them too, because
Oh yeah,
what kids normally face is all of these adults who are like, the traditional sort of hierarchical bullshit, like, well, I'm better than you and I know more than you and you're a piece of shit compared to me, and so what would you ever have on me, and how can you expect someone to genuinely engage in something when you are
yeah,
providing that for them. So I love that energy, and that's the type of energy you would want to, I guess, have in that if you're going to systematize it. But I would just I would love to see that happen. Like, that's such a beautiful vision, because there's just nothing for kids out there. Like, this is all we have provided for them.
The exact opposite is that a living machine has been built in academia that's going to create a ritual where you're going to be the moment you go to college is the moment that you declare yourself a racist, the moment that you declare yourself a sexist, the moment that you declare yourself a stupid idiot that doesn't know anything. The moment you go there, you are broken down. You were forced to go down to the bottom of a pit where you're called a freshman, and the ascension program begins. If you do well and graduate, you really are just getting back to where you first were before you went in, but you've lost 4 years, and now you have $250,000 in debt, depending on what you go to.
And you're probably programmed to some extent.
You're completely warped at this point, where you're having to go out and listen to words like, oh, that's been debunked, where you're walking around in your head that the phrase that's been debunked is like a logical thing that people make sense about, that there's labels that we can stick to things. It's the evolution of the expert. It's almost a possession. It's a possessive state of mind where if you've earned the cred to call yourself, if you've earned the badge to call yourself an expert, you now get to enter into a state where you're no longer learning. You are a regurgitating vending machine. You distribute, and that's what sets up this ascension program. It's what makes a pyramid a pyramid. All pyramids that you can find anywhere when it comes to, I'm talking about people and chain of command, is always going to be the same mark of the machine, literally the mark of the beast. This is how it works. This is how they dehumanize us.
Yeah. Well, I love too, like, you're the opposite of a oh my God, I just lost the word. Not professional. What'd you say? Expert.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
When you were going into that camp with those kids, you were the opposite of that. And that's another reason why you were so effective, is you went in kind of open-minded, as like, well, what is all this about? What are we doing here? And like, how can I best do it? You didn't have like books of knowledge and information on like, this is how we do it, and this is what that's called, and blah, blah, blah. You were, and that allowed you to sort of be a conduit for some things that were actually helpful. Because you hadn't been programmed away from kind of common sense, right? Like kind of just like being in the moment and engaging with people. It's like, that's how you treat somebody.
Yeah. When you enter into a vulnerable state, you actually produce a kind of telepathy. Our emotions are really just a telepathic connection. It's like 98% of your brain will light up. It may not be that much, but it's like a huge amount will light up when it's doing facial recognition. If you were to look at a functional MRI as we're talking, the moment you're telling a story about your rough day today, even though I may not understand your words, I'm picking up on your gestures, which is a kind of telepathy. You're broadcasting your feelings to me. There's another current below our words, and that current is what sets up an environment of healing, because it's creating an asynchronous trust between us. It's really important. We both become vulnerable. When I'm speaking to you, I have possession of your head. My words, I could say a word that would make your drink taste gross if I said the right word, or I could tell you a story that would just make you feel horrible about something bad that happened. Just like I could tell you a joke and completely change your electrical system, in a second. So it's important we understand what words are. That we're casting communication, and that's really what makes this transmutive, like a magical alchemy that's happening between us.
Yeah, I love that. It is really important. And then it brings like a whole new light to like who you're spending your time with and who you're giving your energy to. Because
absolutely,
that's
and
powerful.
And who you're watching, because we forget that. Just as an example, Trump cannot see you. He cannot see me. So all of the energy that I give him, whether it's I hate him or I love him, I'm losing the exact same amount of prana every day. Yeah. That's always going to be lost. It doesn't matter if I think he's the greatest thing in the world. I'm giving that, but it's not asynchronous. He doesn't have an ability to give me back any of his energy. Yeah. And that's really what sets up that chain of command, that pyramid I'm talking about. And that's what the expert does. The expert would come in and set up a non-asynchronous, a one-way flow of communication.
And it's literally you're giving it up, but nothing's coming back down, and
It's
that's what builds it.
yeah,
I see what
yeah.
you're saying. Yeah.
Now, you're getting energy back because through currency, money is a type of energy.
Yeah.
But you can see that now you're getting a completely different photon returned to you. It's packetized. It's actually they're printing as much as they want, so it really has intrinsic specialty to it. It's a very generic, shitty kind of return for your investment. That's what's happening right now with the federal government, where so many people are they're having a great awakening, thank goodness, and they're divesting their belief in the government. By divesting your belief in the federal government, we are regaining our sovereignty, regaining our power of consent, and then we can create the next system, which is instead of a coercive government, we can have a compassion-based government. And that's what I think my campground would do. Yeah. It would generate more alchemists. Kind of, when I say just like me, I'm not trying to turn people in, but show them how they can transmute what's happening around them by showing them the value of their own attention. You know, attention is, you only have 24 prana cookies, per day that you can give out. And you're going to, 8 of those have to go to yourself because you're going to want sleep. And 40% of that's going to have to go to the government because you pay taxes. Like, these are, if we could start to understand, hey, that energy is precious to me. Mm-hmm. I don't want it to be used to shoot false flags or to create foreign nation states or to topple another independent country that has a world bank. It's our consent is being extracted from us. And that's why we need to, the more we wake up, the more painful it's going to be, but the closer we're going to get to having more of our prana that we can distribute, as we see fit.
Yeah. No, I love that concept. And I love even more the idea that there would be a place where people could go to receive kind of understanding about that, or to share an understanding about that and develop, those skills and abilities to look at the world that way and to understand your own power. Because I think that is, like you're saying, the thing that people are lacking a lot of the time, is an understanding that even something as simple as your attention is a very powerful thing, right? Or your words are a very powerful thing.
Yeah, it's the most powerful resource.
Are powerful, yeah.
The most important resource in the world is your attention, and we're told to cheapen it every freaking day.
Yeah.
And if you look at what media does, media's only goal is your attention.
Right.
We're pretending that they're selling us products, but actually, if you look at what a commercial is a scene change. And when you're producing a trance in somebody, the most important parts of a trance are the stage entrance, the entrance of the scene, and the exit. That's how you build and release tension. This is how you program a mind. So if you have these commercials built into these narratives, you end up creating a better trance state for the next entrance. Prime example of that is Epstein. There was a purposely wait where, we found him and he committed suicide. Then purposely no one said anything. They were creating the space for that to build. That creates an alchemical reaction in everyone that's heard it. And now they're going to harvest that reaction starting this week. Mm-hmm. It's always about narratives, and narratives are only understood if you understand how a scene change works, how important it is in the play. The most important thing a playwright does is write those opening scenes. When you set the stage, you get to start with a blank canvas and you get to reveal something, which means you get the chance to paint something evil good and something good. Have those respites in between where you can kind of boil and cook your story into someone else's mind, basically.
So what do you see coming with that, with the whole Epstein thing and all of our attention that's focused on that, hyper focused on that right now?
So 28 states, it's illegal to boycott Israel right now. That's pretty bad. Like seriously, like you can boycott anything you want except for Israel with your tax dollars. You do not have a choice at that. Right now in the state of Florida, if you were a survivor on the USS Liberty, keep in mind I'm a Navy veteran. The USS Liberty was attacked by Israel, and it was made to look like Egypt did it. They did that to bring the United States into the war. If you were a veteran that survived that attack, it would be a felony for you to travel to Florida and tell your story on a campus right now. That's considered the new anti-Semitic speech that passed last May. If you really want to know what's happening to the world, America is the New World Order. If you look on the back of the dollar bill, you see their emblem. We are in denial that this isn't happening. We think that the New World Order is somehow George Soros in Europe.
Yeah.
But that's not the case. We are the machine. Look at how much bigger our military is than any other. Look at how many countries we've been bombing, but we're under a spell. That spell was set by Hollywood. When I say Hollywood, I mean the media. These are the same organization. They're just designed to look different. But that's a trance spell that's basically guaranteeing, promising you that you're the good guy, that you're here to hurt bad guys. And it's absolutely the opposite case. That's why I'm saying it's so painful to wake up, because the moment you start to feel the Great Awakening, you start to understand, what is my consent doing? 40% of my labor yesterday killed Gaddafi, who built the world's largest freshwater dam project ever in the world. Yeah, I shouldn't say ever, because we don't know what happened 13,000 years ago.
True.
But I mean,
that we know of.
This is a really important guy that was really helping his people. And we have cackling laughter on a tape as someone is claiming, yeah, we saw, he died. We are the New World Order. And until enough of us wake up, which I think it only will take 6%, I would say we're at maybe like 4% now. I'm not going to produce a chart, but I'm just telling, this is just what I feel.
Right.
But I think that once you have 6%, I personally think that's enough to change the sway, to change everything.
What makes you say 6%? Because I read that in something you wrote recently too, and I always think 3%. So what makes you say 6%?
Honestly, I'm just pulling that kind of out of the air. It's just my general take on the amount of people that I talk to, gauging the biggest problem right now is that we have a lot of people that are holding out for hopium. They're under the impression that there's this secret rebel force that has infiltrated.
Like the white hats.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's actually one of our, if we could unlock that trance, the whole thing would win. We would win overnight. I'm telling you, we would. If we could unlock that trance. And that's why I've been really, really hard on people lately, really pushing them, going, do you have any idea what just look around. I mean, it's look at what's happening. And part of that is this QAnon phenomenon. Part of that is Pizzagate. Yeah. I believe that all these things are true. Mm-hmm. I also believe that these things are used as it's going to sound zany, but there's like dark black magicians that understand how belief works, that your belief is like a sharpened spear. And up at the very top, at the tip top, you've got people that believe every single Pizzagate story that happened, that they believe the worst of the possible worst. And if you do not have that, you don't have all these others that have formed around him like a spear. Mm-hmm. A spear is only powerful because it's long. If you were to throw a spear that was only 1 inch long, it's not going to do much damage. But if you've got a 6 foot long shaft behind it, even the beliefs that are at the very, very base of that shaft, those would be beliefs like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that JFK was actually killed by communists, but boy, sometimes I wonder, it's like that's how unawake the awakened can be and still contribute to this thrown spear. Mm-hmm. So the entire shaft, interesting analogy, but the entire shaft of intensity. And that's really what makes the alchemical magic so powerful. And this works on all sides. This works in religion. This works in academia. This works in trends. This works in fashion. Oh my gosh, this works so much in fashion. It's the exact same way. Madonna will come out with pokey boobies, or Gaga will wear red raw meat. She is at the very tip of the spear, commanding all of the others that aren't quite that intense, but are very willing to go with that intensity. This is why Donald Trump is such an amazing alchemist. He's able to lead you through persuasion by saying, well, you don't like immigration. I want a frickin' wall 40 feet tall. They see that as a leading, they see that as, well, I cannot match his intensity, but my God, he definitely wants what I want. Mm-hmm. It would only make sense to back him. And so
Yeah.
you end up falling in line, very much like a herd of horses or cavalry might go charging. The natural, powerful ones are going to be out front, and everyone else going to, form into that V behind them.
Well, and I don't know how well this relates or not, but the whole Q phenomenon I see too is like or just this hope that there's white hats or that Trump is actually going to help somehow. I see as this kind of it's almost a lack of hope really in yourself, right? Because you think like, well,
Yes.
this problem is too big, this problem is the world over, and so we need like a government or a military or something to solve it, and so maybe there's this, maybe that will work, and it's my best chance and I'm going to get behind that. And it like is disempowering. Again, it like takes away that idea that like actually you in every moment of every day literally are changing and affecting the world, and that is your power, not Donald Trump.
You freaking nailed it. It's interesting because I grew up in the QAnon phenomenon. I believed wholeheartedly in what Q was about. I fell for every lie, for every piece of propaganda. I wanted that more than anyone. In fact, you can trace back my writings and see how I was doing that. But I found out really quick, Q is Mossad. This is actually a Mossad operative. I was able to trace the steps of Steve Bannon. As he
I
was,
saw that you did that. That was very interesting.
yeah, the steps are really uncanny. I'm not going to go into them all in detail here, but if anyone wants to check it out, I've got about 4 or 5 articles that really outline like the schedule. It's like seriously, like 10 weeks after he was fired from the White House for being sloppy Steve, he posts about Hillary Clinton, the very first Q post saying Hillary Clinton will be arrested tomorrow morning. The day before, this is how you know this is a game. The day before Q posted that Clinton was behind human trafficking, Bannon goes to Jeffrey Epstein's house before dawn, the day before, and is caught by a reporter going in. Wow. Now, he's having a conversation with Epstein, and I don't know what happened, obviously, guys, but what I think happened is that's setting up, you have exactly 1 year to live. When you say live, if you want to believe Epstein's still alive, then you have 1 year until we pretend he's dead. I personally think Epstein is dead because Epstein said he had to ejaculate 3 times a day. I believe that. I think that he was a turned Renfield. I don't know if you know this term, but it's like someone that serves Dracula. He was a turned Renfield. He had an addiction, and that's what made him serve his cause. I've outlined in my papers that Epstein is not a billionaire, that the entire thing is a charade. It's actually Les Wexner, who's behind Epstein, that was able to back away from Epstein as far as absolve himself. He's had 11 years since Epstein's been busted, to clean up his act, to make sure.
Yeah, that's a long time.
That's a long time to set up a giant narrative. And Les Wexner is very, very, very attached to Israel. So is another billionaire, Clayman. Literally, you're looking at $8 billion between those two guys. Now, let's do a quick comparison. If you've got $8 billion over here, and then over here you've got 200 million. 200 million is the entire budget of the Republican and the Democratic national conventions per year. Wow. So you're looking at, it's no contest between the powers of a billionaire and the powers of our political parties. Yeah. And Les Wexner isn't even a giant billionaire. He's a pretty good sized billionaire, but he's not even the biggest. We're looking at like someone like Eric Schmidt, who has $16 billion now. All of these people have aligned around Jared Kushner. And that's really what's terrifying, because
is terrifying.
Jared Kushner's dad went to prison for 2 years for what? For blackmailing someone with a sex tape.
Oh, wow.
So if you trace back Q, you're going to find that it all started with Weiner, Anthony.
Uh-oh.
Is also in the same. Clinton, you losing me?
Yeah, a little bit for a second there. Right after Weiner, it cut out.
so Anthony Weiner, Epstein, Clinton, which will come next. Mm-hmm. Those are all 3 from the same rat's nest. Those are all 3 owned by the same blackmail person. The same blackmail safe that has a file on Weiner also has a file on Epstein and Clinton. I think that person is Wexner. Millionaires collect money. Billionaires collect people. When you have $1 billion, money is not the same to you. What you want is people. You want power. And if you want to buy a Ferrari, great. If you want to buy a $4.7 million racehorse, great. If you want to buy a congressman, great. How do you buy them? you buy their blackmail file. Now, once you own that blackmail file, you basically, it's like owning a title to a car. You can wreck that car. If you want to stage an accident, great. It's your car. You're a billionaire. If you want to sell that car to someone else, great. You know, you could even get your car elected to president and then sell the file. You know, this is just simple math. It's just simple business. It's naive for us to pretend that somehow Trump has magically avoided all of these blackmailers his whole life, even though he really struggled financially and was bailed out very early on by some of these same people. So it's just silly. Okay, to put it really in perspective, the only way that Trump could be this secret white hat agency is if Ivanka Trump is secretly wearing this Confederate like bikini lingerie set underneath her clothing, and she's been like blue balling Jared Kushner this whole time because she converted to Judaism, and this is what England would do to France. You know, I will marry my daughter to yours. Jared Kushner is the godchild of Netanyahu. You can read all the stories about how close they are, how connected they are.
But didn't Netanyahu even like sleep in his house or something?
Yes, slept bed, and that's an anointing, something I talk about in my articles. But he anoints Kushner as the Messiah, which basically is the second coming. These are Kabbalists. Trump is a Kabbalist. He's not a Christian. He's been brought up in Kabbalism his whole life. That's not a rumor. Check page 188 of his book, Going to the Top or something. But it's right there. He's a Kabbalist. All of his children converted to Judaism when? Roughly about when this all started. 2012 was when he trademarked "Make America Great Again." He's really tied in with Roger Stone, which is just such a slime. It should show us all that these aren't coincidences. You don't accidentally marry the son of someone that went to prison for 2 years for blackmail with a sex tape if you're going to run for president. Like that alone would be enough to make you go, no, Ivanka, I don't want you to marry this guy. That would ruin my entire political career.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that Kushner bought the most expensive building ever purchased for $1.8 billion, that 666 Fifth Avenue building. That's very much a Kabbalistic spell. And that same land was originally owned by Vanderbilt. Then it was bought by Rockefeller. That tells you that the families are anointing Jared Kushner as second coming. That's what makes it. They made it a record in the Guinness book. He bought the most expensive building ever, $1.8 billion.
Which is 666.
Which is 666.
It's at 666, and it costed 666.
Exactly. And this is resonance. And if anyone's out there like, that sounds too crazy, 666 isn't even necessarily evil. I'm not even saying these guys are like they lick the anus of Satan in the morning. You can be into 666 and it's a Kabbalistic numerology thing.
Right.
But it's like finding a four-leaf clover if you're a billionaire. It's like the magic that you would feel from a four-leaf clover, these guys find in numbers. So I just want people to understand that 666 isn't even necessarily like this, kind of thing. It's a serious Kabbalistic, like feng shui, but for your bank account.
But it's like anything. It's like a tool, right? And you can use it for good, you can use it for evil, or you can be neutral about it. Like there's it in itself maybe doesn't have that quality, but you can use it in any way you want.
Yeah. In fact, I'd say the real power is our belief. And so it doesn't really matter which number you pick or which four-leaf clover or six-leaf clover. If you believe that is endowed with that power and you have that object, you are now endowed with that magic. Belief is so much more important. This is what I meant earlier about your attention is the most valuable thing that there is. Your belief is what you attend. You attend your beliefs every working this every day by using their money, by supporting the system and by letting it all happen and wait for a white hat or try and move on with our lives.
Well, this is the other thing that people will claim, and it's pretty out there too, but it is really interesting and very strange that there's those books that seem to indicate that maybe Trump and Little Baron Trump are time travelers, of that, that book. So that, and then you can point to that and you can say like, dude, maybe he's a time traveler and Tesla and his uncle knew Tesla or got Tesla's papers or whatever and this. And you can look at all that and be like, dude, maybe he is a time traveler. Maybe he is our savior. Maybe that's how he escaped all this. But that could have all been fabricated too. That book, how do I know that it wasn't made up 10 years ago and planted around in different ways, right? Like, I don't know that. I have no idea.
Not only could it have been, think about what a powerful gift it would be if you're trying to get in on Trump, just into his inner circle. If you were to say, hey, I got you something. It's this book. It's The Adventures of Baron von Trump. Look at the publication date. Like, that is like a huge gift. And guys, stay with me here, because this isn't just Trump.
Yeah.
I can tell you a story that happened to Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. It's documented in the books, where the night before, during dinner, those two arrange to have a speech that happens while they're at the banquet the next day. And so the next day they come to the banquet separately, and Mark Antony stands up and goes, I wonder if it might be possible that a man such as Julius Caesar could actually be a god. Now, the moment he says that, that's political alchemy. That is transmutation. And yeah, there's going to be 4 people there like me that are like, dude, you freaking mind control asshole. How dare you? But 96 of the people there are going to, okay, and here's how beautiful it works. Half of those 96 are going to be, that's total bullshit. Of course it's not God. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard, okay? And then the other half are going to be like, huh, that could be right. I wonder. Yeah. Both, here's what's fascinating that no one gets. No one gets this. Both leave, go home that night, and are now giving belief to the notion that Caesar is a god. Even if they're saying no, you don't understand. You're putting belief into that attention. Yeah. And that attention is going to play telephone like every other conversation we have, where I whisper something to you, that whispers something to someone else, that whispers something to someone else. It all comes down to basically this prana economy. It's this energy exchange that's happening underneath our words. And you can implant energy despite the fact that someone's going to disagree or agree with the words. That's what Trump's done with Love Trump's Hate. Love Trump's Hate feeds Trump. It's a giant fountainhead for him. It doesn't matter what side you're on. In fact, the longer you hate Trump, the heavier your water gets. It's getting worse and worse. It's literally fucking torture. And then when you finally cash in and you're like, I cannot carry this anymore. I like Trump. It's like he won the entire pot. Yeah. Like everyone, he called everyone, and the people that folded that didn't need to, and he won everything. It's people don't understand that this is how alchemy works. This is how energy works. This is why so many people get away with psychopathy. This is why so many people are actually victims to narcissism, for example, like a narc attack. This is the economy that's being set up, but no one's taught us this prana judo. No one's brought us into a dojo out in the middle of the woods and say, we're going to learn energy work today. We're going to have a staring contest right now. And I'm going to talk to you as we're staring, and we're going to have a discussion about, well, what's happening? Both of us are staring. So what's the game? And the game is there can be only one. And if you think about that, that's a psychic game again, it's an asynchronous connection between the two. Both of you are trying to hold the exact same space, and one of you wins, one of you loses. And just by doing these exercises, again, it's not to win. It's just to understand how this energy works. Yeah. That it's not what people are telling us. People are telling us, no, you had a conversation and then you looked at each other. It doesn't explain, well, why are you so tired afterwards? Well, like, why are you like, oh, man, that was freaking hard. You know, why is that happening? And that's the prana economy. That's what's happening underneath the surface. And that's purposely been circumcised. Oops. And covered over. It's been glossed over with this. Did I lose you?
No, you were back.
Okay, good.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's been purposely hidden, and to the point where the actors who are taking part in it, like for my examples, all come from education because that's where I've been for years. But all of the teachers and administration who are involved in training kids to ignore that completely and give it up and just keep giving energy away at the expense of themselves. They're all doing it because they were trained to. Like, they don't question it and they don't understand their effect, on themselves and on others. And they don't know what they've lost and they don't know what they're asking others to lose. So that's like how deeply ingrained it is that we're just like carrying it on over and over again without any more very much, at least, input from an outside controller anymore, you know?
Well, you could, in 6 weeks, you could teach someone that the ego is good. You could teach someone how people drain your power by shaming your prejudice. That's a big one. If you actually, well, what is prejudice? Prejudice is literally the will expressing itself in time and space. But we're currently shaming that word. We're calling prejudice bad. We're calling prejudice evil. The same thing with a word like supremacy. Self-supremacy is to master yourself.
Yeah.
If you mastered yourself, you would need no ruler. That's why they shame that word. There's certain words that they pick for very particular reasons. And it's about, this is how you geld a stallion, except for the stallion's a person. You have to geld their psychology. And that's what the white coat program is all about in college. That's why doctors are, they're lost. Doctors are missing something very important, and they don't like to hear that. But all you hear from them is Dunning-Kruger. That's what they tell everyone else. This is it's an egoic attack. When you ask a doctor, hey, I don't know if you understand all about vaccines. That's an egoic attack, and it's not because that doctor's a bad person or a selfish person. They literally have been trained by someone through a system that had that, remember that pyramid? It has that chain of command. So they've been taught that your essence is because of your authority. And the moment that you come up to challenge that authority, there's no more medicine happening. What's happening instead is that you were attacking all my years of schooling. You were attacking my ability to be an expert. And that's what we should be doing. We should be co-creating our health. But we're not. And they're making up excuses for it. They're inventing terms like Dunning-Kruger to show us that. I could give you so many examples of this, of just with vaccines, where, like, as an example, vaccines, a third of all vaccines are proprietary. That means someone owns the recipe, and they don't show it to us. So it's like private property, and they keep it from us. But if you tell a doctor that, and I don't mean all doctors, but if you try and tell someone that, they're going to say, no, that's not true. No, it's just aluminum salt. You don't know what and you can show them a screenshot. You can show them in the Merck book. This is our proprietary adjuvant. It's used in this, this, and this. These are all they're self-tested. And even though you're showing him all the documentation, it doesn't matter. It's an egoic attack. They're not going to be dealing with you on a rational basis. Only 5% of our thoughts are even algorithmic anyway. Most of what we're doing is resolving patterns with each other. Like you and I may want to agree, and so you'll say something, and I'm going to just cling to whatever I can to agree with you because I really just want to agree with you and see the same thing. I'm not saying that's all of it, but about 95% of what our brain does is that. It's that subconscious pattern fixing, and it's not always agreement. If you're in an alpha state, you could be with your best friend and he's talking about your favorite band, and you could still be like, yeah, but I like their old stuff, man. They've really sold out. And you don't even know why you're saying that. It's this pattern system that you're running. You're in alpha. You'd rather be in theta. You'd rather be like, yeah, man, I really love how they did that solo there. But unless you understand the alchemy, unless you understand your own mind and how it works, you don't know how to reset. You don't know how to switch in to a different switch from alpha to beta. And more importantly, you don't know how to do what the Army has a manual on called Mind War. It's in the other room, but Michael Aquino wrote this manual and he explains it. First thing you do is you sweep the room of alphas. You have to eliminate air to cause dissent. How do you do that? You inject a narrative that you're going to cause as a magnet that's going to attract them. Then you're going to exhaust them with fuel into that one narrative. Meanwhile, you're introducing your second narrative behind you. Now, after that, you have a beta sweep. That's when you insert people into the room that are going to establish everyone else to agree. This is where you have like a giant Twitter account like Joe M. Or you have these people that are pretending to be these like, oh my God, I'm so patriotic, but actually they're just part of the Mossad system. They're on the payroll the exact same way a vaccine advocate, which is out there, wanders around Twitter like a shark looking for arguments to get in to tell you how stupid you are, even though you've got the data sheets to prove them. This is mind warfare. It's more humane than just shooting someone. And this is what the government does every day. I can prove it because 250 million voters go in and vote for blue or red.
Yeah.
All 250 million of them. And every one of them comes out feeling more free, feeling like they actually participated in some sort of democratic process. Yeah. If that doesn't show you just how fucked the mind control is, nothing will. That's insane.
It is literally insane.
Look at Israel, 42 parties in their last. I really think that a lot of this is, I'm not saying the state of Israel, but there's an inversion that's happened inside of Judaism, Catholicism, and Christianity. It shows itself in Mossad, CIA, and in the black nobility. It shows itself in Satanism out of Christianity. It shows itself in like pedophilia. It's not the Jews. However, it is the Jews too.
Yeah.
It's this inverted thing that's coming out that understands how the mind works, and more importantly, is willing to just decimate any morality at all, whatever it takes to get what they want. That's that malignant narcissism that's happening apolitically. Literally, what does a narcissist say? But I am the chosen person. What is Judaism? But we are the chosen people. True. And out of our chosen people, we have a chosen Mashiach, and that person is Jared Kushner. Now we can build the third temple. Now we can start the final conflict. So these are long-term plans. This isn't zany. You can look at the letters. This is, 102-year-old Balfour Declaration. And before that, I think you're looking at a third triumvirate out of Rome that moved into Venetia and then moved into the crown. But I don't even want. I hate to even lose people because they're going to be like, no, it went this way first. That's how we get lost. We get lost because we're trying to track it. But it's the inversion that we're after, and that inversion is going to want a chain of command. That's why it builds pyramids. It's the sole reason why it pulls that off. That's how you mind control is using a pyramid.
That's the only reason. That's the only way you could possibly have that much control over that much of the world's population and resources, and like mental resources especially, is through that pyramid structure.
Absolutely.
Otherwise it all falls apart and is meaningless. But this idea you have has been really fascinating to me about the Jared Kushner thing, because it wasn't that long ago that a good friend of mine, Lee, broke down for me what like all of these things about Jared Kushner, and I was kind of like, how are people not talking about this more? Like, how is this not more of a big story and issue? Because how would I have just been hearing that? It kind of blew my mind that all those things could be true about this person and that people could just kind of conveniently ignore him. And then you brought it up on Freeman recently, and it kind of reminded me, and I really am fascinated now by your idea that this all meaning like the Q stuff, the Epstein stuff, and kind of these things that seems like the veil is kind of thinning and we're seeing through this all and having this awakening, but that could all be kind of manipulated and intentional.
Well, we are having an awakening. There's nothing they've seen it. This has been, if you go back to 10, 15 years ago, if you go to England and Ireland, France, you see where we are now back then, where they were like, holy shit, man, things are really bad. And we were still in lull mode of like, oh, we're getting free healthcare. We've elected a black president. Now we're no longer guilty. It was this mind control stuff. We are now at that threshold. But what happened is, here's my take on it is that I'm going to just call them the black nobility. I hope you guys can just let me call them that. I'm sorry if you disagree that it's not that, but I'm talking about whoever's in charge of the world. I would like to call them the black nobility. Okay?
Let's do it. Yes.
Thank you.
We'll agree on that term for now.
So the black nobility has seen that some kind of spore has been released into the world that is causing this great awakening. Personally, I think it's the earth. I think the earth is like, I'm tired of the shit. You guys need to wake the fuck up. You are my nervous system. You are my processors. You are the living soil. I need you to get your shit together. So it released these spores into the air, and that's the Great Awakening. It's a spore. It's not attached to any country. It's not attached to anything else. It's an effervescent, organic call to arms. Okay, the black nobility saw this spore, and were like, "Fuck, we are losing our control." The only way they could get it back is so people were already seeing through the illusion. Like, for example, Apollo 11, that's a perfect example. People were like, wait, that's a totally fraud. That didn't happen.
That's tinfoil.
That is literally like the greenhouse glass is falling out of the narrative, and there are holes now. These are dangerous holes. They're so dangerous that the black nobility came up with an idea. Let's pretend like that everything is evil and it's all connected to Epstein and Clinton. And what's going to happen now is that America's going to bust Epstein, and then we're going to have this botched suicide, and it's going to make everyone go, hey, that guy didn't really die, or hey, that's not right. It's going to create more dissonance in the injustice. Meanwhile, Kushner is going to be bringing peace to the Middle East. That's like saying, you're paying me protection insurance. I'm going to stop breaking your legs now in the morning. That's literally what's happening with Mossad. ISIS is basically a division of Israel that's doing these things. Right. All the terror in the Middle East is manufactured by the same people we're going to reward for bringing peace to the Middle East. It really is that simple.
Yeah.
But people are seeing through the narrative. They're losing control over the mental reins that are on us. The black nobility sees that. This is a desperate, really creative and desperate ploy to try and keep that out. They have to appeal to the leak, right? They have to appeal. There's a leak. You know, Apollo 11, and it doesn't have to be that, guys. I'm just giving an example. Like, right. Apollo 11 fell, and they're like, they can see the real sky. This is really fucked. The second they do that, they're coming in, they're putting a tarp above that leak, right? And they're painting stars on that tarp. And that tarp is like 6 feet higher. And they're like, yeah, this is all false ceiling. We got to tear all this down. And meanwhile, they're using all of our resources to build that outer shell. If it wasn't already built, actually, this actually could have just been built the whole time. Right. But here's how it's going to unfold. Epstein is going to be, this is exactly what I said would happen, basically.
Yeah.
But now that they see what's going to happen with Epstein, it's going to create the avenue for a one world court. I know right now it sounds like Trump is like so America first and he's all against this. But keep in mind, he believes in political bigamy. He believes in international polygamy, I should say. He believes that we should be in bed with Israel, that our future is tied to them.
Yeah.
That we don't have a vote in Israel. Israel doesn't have a vote over here, but he's totally fine with that. Okay. Keep in mind that none of the people mention Israeli collusion ever. No one has ever said that.
Yeah.
Most of our Congress is a dual citizen of Israel. Not most, but a large 24 and more are dual citizens of Israel. No one mentions this is how you guys know it's fake. Okay. Yeah. You know it's fake because they don't mention that stuff. Anyway, back to the story. Epstein's creating that other layer that it's going to pretend that we're going to bust that. Epstein's going to link to Clinton because Clinton is an international human trafficking ring. That's what's going to create the avenue for the Global Fund Against Human Trafficking, which already has a budget. You can look it up. It's on the UN. Ivanka Trump just donated a bunch of money to it. She's working with 20 other nations. All 20 of those nations are nuclear nations. This is a really important point. We may not have time for it, but that's important. They're all nuclear nations. They've all agreed that we need to come up with an international solution to end world trafficking. The pedophile, the head of pedophile, of Jeffrey Epstein is a totem. Okay. A totem is something that you would like attach to a stake and you would walk it through a crowd and people would be like, yeah, I can get behind that totem. It's the idea of the head of a pedophile. What they really want is a witch to burn. We have in our history a desire for witches burning. It causes an adrenochrome addiction. Villagers are inhaling the smoke of the terror. It's when you constrict justice, you end up with an addiction to justice. So what's going to happen, we have an addiction to justice. It's an unhealthy relationship with something that we need to survive. And that's going to be used against us to pull us into this one world court, which has already been built in Israel, by the way. And that's why you see cities like Astana, Astana is the capital of Kazakhstan, which has this really tripped out Illuminati kind of layout to it, where there's like 2 towers and then there's 2 more towers. There's a phoenix. There's a flooding of a snake inside the phoenix. The Honduras horde that went up from Honduras, the migrant caravan, I think actually was that snake made out of people.
Yeah.
it's such a symbolic, these are master magicians on the carpet, as they say in the Masonic term for, he's the master is on the carpet, which means the alchemist is in the room. He's casting a spell. The spell is bringing the eye of providence. The one world, one-eyed pyramid is rising from this spell. And the only way to do that is to hang some pedophiles, burn a witch, and pretend like we're going to fix everything because we got the bad guy.
And they already have all that infrastructure built up, like you're saying. And that Astana place is a pretty, it's very trippy. It's very full of symbolic that to levels where I can't even analyze it. And probably that is going to play a big role in where they're sending all that energy.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a temple there. I encourage everyone just to look it up yourself, because really you'll get lost in it for hours. Just what? And then there's this. So there's a pyramid, the exact same dimensions of the dollar bill. Yes.
Yeah.
And at the top, there's this giant eye. Yes.
Yes.
And around the eye, every religious world leader has signed the same piece of sacred wood from some sacred. Yes. And they're all looking down on all these people down. Yes.
That's
and
terrifying.
And you're just yeah, guys, it's all happening. Yeah. So let's stop pretending that this fucking magic white hat guy is going to come around in an ice cream truck and kill everybody and give us a pop-up or whatever. It's ridiculous. Right. But we've been conditioned that way, to be fair. I shouldn't be so hard on everybody. But man, I want our grandchildren not to look at us and go, man, they really fucked us. Those guys really fucked us, man, because they just sat there and they didn't do anything, I don't have a lot of faith for what's happening now. I more have faith for what can we turn around. Yeah. Can I start this campground that's like a blockchain method where anyone else can just take the same model and do it somewhere else? And what ideas can we do? Look, there are people out there. Tiffany Fitzhenry is a great example. There are people out there that are like Jedis. They're freaking pulling grenades and throwing them in the mouth of this dragon, and they're freaking exploding. They're doing real hardcore damage. We need more of those Jedis right now. It's freaking go time, man. It is just straight up go time. And that's really, I'm dedicated all the time to this. I want to unlock the mind control. I want to do whatever I can, to help us get there, because I served my country once a long time ago, and it was for the wrong people at the wrong reasons. I believe in the soil. I believe in sovereignty. To me, it's all about sovereignty. So.
Yeah. Well, and it's right here and it's right now. And that's why that vision you have of that camp is so beautiful, because it would be creating the opportunity for more people to recognize that and connect to that. And I'm with you with the earth having come up, and that's part of this awakening, right? Is this consciousness from the earth is kind of reawakening, or at least kind of giving us more, I don't know, connection to that. But I think that literally is.
Well, the Mayan calendar, nods to that too. There's a different yuga. It would make sense that a spore would be released at this time. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I love that, though, because I feel like that is something that people can literally go connect to at any moment, right? Yeah. And that is where you can actually get clarity and power, and, that these types of actionable, sort of immediate and practical things are what people need in order to have real hope, not this hope that's kind of created in this system that's outside of you that you're abandoning your energy to,
The opposite of a pyramid is a campfire. And if you think about it, a campfire is small. Even if it's a bonfire, you're only going to be able to get maybe 1,000 people around it. Okay. Yeah. In other words, it's only going to be that big. That's why it's such a powerful metaphor. It's such a powerful piece of magic. The more of us that start campfires, the less we're looking into the machine, the less we're staring into the looking at a system that's distributing data to us. Campfires are going to save the world. I can't stress that enough. And to clarify, I'm not trying to this is a 6-week camp. This is not a commune. Yeah. I don't want people coming and staying. That's not what it is. This is, you're here for 6 weeks. You're gonna use that time, or you're gonna fuck it up. That's your call, man. I don't care. But if you want to come, you're gonna go through this program, and this is how it's gonna work. So I just want to make people clear. This is not.
I'm not starting a cult.
I don't even like talking to people. I'd rather just be writing, or
Hanging out with
I
raccoons.
I know this would work. That's
Yes.
all. That's all I'm saying is I know it would work because I've seen it work, man. I've freaking
Yeah.
seen it. And it's almost like I was blessed. A squirrel brought me to that camp, long story,
Yeah.
but it's almost like that squirrel is working on the world right now because
Yeah.
he took me to that camp for training. You could almost call that camp was like Dagobah, where
Uh-huh.
I like go there and Yoda's like the earth. It's like
Yeah.
kicking my ass. And I'm learning how to use this force. I know it sounds silly,
No, it
but
doesn't to me at all.
I'm telling you
I've had
guys,
similar
this is how
things.
you do it. It's going to be a campfire. It's going to be anything that decentralizes. That's why I talk
Yes.
about bioregionalism. I have an article about
Decentralization.
that. It's a new system of government. I'm calling it bioregionalism. When I say new, it's actually an old system of government. The
Sure.
people of the Longhouse had that for 500, 600 years. Basically, the Iroquois nation, what we call the Iroquois, they had a constitution, a bicameral constitution, but it was unanimous government. It's so different. It's unanimous government. Yes, we can have unanimous government. That
Yeah.
really means that government is a tapestry of agreements. You can only be a part of it if everyone agrees. It's so the only things that you will see will be only people agreeing on that. I know people are gonna think, oh, that will never work. It worked for 500 years.
Yeah.
This is not a pipe dream. This is not utopia. This is simple consent economics. Right now, our compassion is harvested, which turns it into coercion. So our magic isn't even fully utilized.
Yeah.
Imagine the attention that you could pay if you had 40% of your resources back, you would pour that into your community. And some of you wouldn't. Some of you would be freaking selfish and spend years just screwing up. That's fine. We already have that now.
Yeah.
We already have that right now. So it's not like it's going to be worse.
No.
Those people are to eventually understand, my God, look at how much prana James has because he added that park. And there was that baby deer is laying in the waterfall that he made. How freaking cool,
Yeah.
whatever. We're going to learn more about energy.
Hmm.
Right now, the mark of the beast is already on us. It's the
Hmm.
price tag. We're putting prices on everything. And when you put a price tag on something, it loses its ability to be priceless. And now we introduce a new concept of being worthless because now we have things that are like not worth something. It creates this really dark black magic. And that's why a campfire is so important. That's why going into this campground environment where you have a different system of currency, where the currency is your energy and more importantly your time. It's actually part of why I'm limiting it to 6 weeks. I'm not saying it has to be 6 weeks, by the way, but that's part of why you limit it. You want that person in that environment going, holy shit, I'm running out of time. I got
Yeah.
to do something awesome. I really want to do something awesome. I only have so much time. It's when we understand how valuable our time is, because again, we think time is infinite. We believe that. That's part of the mind control. When we understand that it's not, we start to consent it better. We start to spend it better. And we end up with, giant, huge pumpkin patches of plants, that are under the ground and growing up on trees. We blow ourselves away with our own magic at that point.
Absolutely. Amen. It's a beautiful vision. And I love that it's literally, you're talking about a campfire because I feel like people might think you're like doing this as a metaphor. It's like, no, an actual campfire. And there
Yeah,
really is magic there. And I've
yeah,
had experiences before where I had a campfire at my house or just a fire and people would come to it and they'd almost like not flock because there wasn't like hundreds of them or whatever, but the people would just come and they'd need to just sit around the fire and like always something would happen that was magical and
yeah.
that transformed people's lives. And I was just like, dude, I'm just a fucking like observer of this because I'm not creating this, I'm just like here in this space. And I happen to have a fire and that's it. So I've seen that magic works.
It's so true.
Actually,
The most
actually works.
powerful, the most powerful position in the world should be fire tender.
Yeah. Oh.
And having a campfire night over, it really is where all the magic is coming. You're bringing the fuel, you're setting up the circle. And that really, the symbolism of the circle is so crucial because if you look at the symbol of the sun, so the psyche is a circle. Carl Jung will tell you that. It's basically a circle. But the symbol of the sun is a circle with a dot in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
It's the solar symbol, a Heliopolis. That dot in the middle is really a centralized focus. It's centralizing all that power. And that dot typically means a person. The campfire kind of removes that because it's a ring of people. If anyone does try and get in the center, they're going to burn. They're literally going to catch on fire. So you have an alchemical symbol that is literally the ring, not the circle in the middle. You know, the pyramid would be that here's the point, here's the dot, here's the tip, you know, here's the edge of it. So it's a very powerful. Not only does it help socially, not only does it cut off all technology, but even the symbolism of it. Like even the symbolism of it is magic, and that's really when we start to see, you know, synchronicity and kismet. And this is kind of like the good side of magic, where you understand, no, that this is an alignment. There's an alignment here that's happening when I build a fire. I have to build a circle of rocks around it. There's really no other choice.
Yeah.
And rock put in the center is going to be pointless. It wouldn't make any sense. And now that you have a circle around it, it would only make sense that people would gather in a circle. It's building itself through the fire tender, through the very first person that takes the coal and introduces that ember and puts that oxygen, puts their intent into that campfire. It's a spell. It's the most powerful magical thing that we can do right now, and it will change the entire world. I'm telling you, it will.
I firmly believe it. I've experienced it. And I love that idea of bringing the center in, you know, because I just went to this powwow the other day, and I've been to a lot, but I've never seen an Aztec dance. And part of their, you know, they have the 4 directions, and then they also do like the sky and the Mother Earth, and then they bring it into the center. And I'd never seen that bringing it into the center, and it really affected me. And I was like, you know, it affected me. It helped me understand a lot that I can't really put into words, but it also has a perfect correlation here in this fire tending, you know, like you bring it all into the center, and the center stands for itself, but it like contains all of that within it. It was kind of a synchronicity there.
That's awesome. Nice timing.
Yeah. And right when I was saying that, I was looking at the time of the video, and it was 1 hour, 11 minutes and 11 seconds. Of course. So I think we're running short on time, right?
I've got 30 more minutes.
Okay.
And then,
well, I wanted you to be able to talk about, if you wanted, the book that you are working on, because you have 2 books out already, right? And you're working on one more right now.
Yeah. This is my latest and greatest. This was released in February. It's called Blueprints of Mind Control. It's 47 chapters. They're all short stories. You can jump around. It's great. Cool. I think the modern reader will really like it, because it's not like, oh, God, I got to read a book. You can literally start on chapter 37 and go, Hillary Clinton did what? You know, all these different chapters. They're all about mind control. It's just unwrapping the mind control in the places where you wouldn't expect to see it. Like where some of you may not have even known that it was there. Right. It's really supposed to be a bringing back of the assemblage point, of putting you back in your center, because you're finding out, wow, this stuff's really everywhere. So that's my work that's out now that I'd love support on and readers for. My next book is so I've just changed the name again today, but these are the same things. It's probably going to be the technology of belief. That's probably going to be the name. However, I've been calling it the prana economy. Yeah. It's about this. I'm trying to, if I don't get my campground, I need to get this in words before I die. So I'm hoping this will be the technology of belief is what it sounds like. It's really the technology of good and evil, because I'm going to be outlining here's the technology of belief when it's used for good. Here's the technology of belief when it's used for bad. So we cover things from ancient Rome to Egypt to the Oracle at Delphi to, oh my goodness, there's so much. Excuse me. I've already got like 27 chapters done. And it's basically just going through these different genres through history and just showing you why belief was just so important. It's got some things in there about the fashion industry, a little bit more about Hollywood. Really giant new asshole in this book. So I almost don't even need to address it again. But it's showing you the power of mind control through, like, fashion. None of us realize just how powerful fashion is. Like, if you see someone that has a Medal of Honor on them, you're never going to question if they just diddled a kid like behind the stage like 10 minutes ago. You would never question that. And if you were to see someone in an orange jumpsuit who just saved your dog from near death, you would never accept that he was somehow good. It would be an accident, or he was doing that to try and win favor. It's the power of the costume. Is, wow, like so mind blowing. And we don't see that yet. And so I really tear apart fashion in this new book as it's just another symbol of this belief. And then, of course, scientism, which is really just the biggest one. I explain how science is really more of a seance. For example, if half of all the research that is produced in a lab, I'm talking about like white papers, in 20 years is proven wrong, half, 1/3, it could be 2/3. I'm going to say 1/3 in case I'm wrong. I think it's 2/3, but 1/3 of all lab research cannot be repeated independently by someone else. Now, we're still walking around pretending science is totally legit. Yeah. But what if I was to tell you, hey, man, if you cast a magic spell, half the time, it's going to work. If you cast a magic spell only 1/3 of the time, someone else can cast your same spell and it worked too. I'm showing that there's a mind control that's put on both of these systems. And I explain how Rockefeller declared war. Actually, I take it back to King James. Man, this will blow you away, but King James' first book was an outline for how to murder witches. It was a direct declaration against magic. There's a paragraph in there that described we must end anyone that, I'm butchering this quote, anyone that utters or tries to say healing without using some type of physical salve or poultice to it. So he was basically calling the tongue evil. He was declaring the tongue an instrument of the devil. And his second book was the King James Bible. And that's really where there's so much mind control in that book. And I've spent years trying to figure out, how do I tell people about the mind control in the Bible without really losing them, without really just destroying. See, I don't want to destroy anyone's archetype. Yeah. And this is very delicate surgery that we have to do, but I perform very delicate surgery on the Bible to expose some things while still honoring the archetype that's there, a very, very, very powerful archetype, a beautiful archetype that I actually want to save. And in order to do that, I'm having to cut the thorns that are growing around it, that are choking it, that are turning it into, they're really turning it into, if you saw Ghostbusters, there's like a ghost in the dining room, and they throw this device open and it opens up and it like sucks all the plasma of the ghost into this device. The Bible is that device. It's sucking all of your belief into it. Yeah. And it's preventing you from transmuting the world around you. You are so caught in the sin and the salvation ploy of the Old Testament and the New Testament. This is what a narc does. It gaslights you. It's going to tell you, I hate you, I love you. I hate you, I love you. It's setting up this disassociation dynamic, which honestly is leading to a possession. Mind control is sort of a possession. I don't even want to say that word because your reader's going to be like, "What? I'm not listening to that." It's going to sound crazy, but
no, it is. It's like your thoughts become things.
Yeah, there's a technology to all this. There's a technology to our thoughts, and really, this book outlines that. And I'm hoping that people will come away with it understanding that there's a currency underneath our words. That currency is how a couple will have like chemistry. Even though they're just talking about, oh, that's a nice salad over there. Yes, I enjoyed that salad very much. Underneath them, they're like, I want you so bad. There's right. This deeper energy that's happening. This is a book that's really more trying to tap into that. It's going to allow you to see the hyenas that exist in the world, the people that have been lost to fluorescent world, the ones that are going to be behind the glass with the hole, and they're barking at you, telling you. People that have been lost to the machine, and by tapping into this currency, you might be able to wake some of them up. If not, at least you can defend yourself, where you're not being sucked of your prana every day, by trying to cooperate in the system.
Well, and I think like it's that thorn idea is kind of effective, right? Because you're like wrapped up in all of these thorns of belief and like mind control, and like taking them off hurts really bad to like rip it off of your face, right? But when you're done, like you can run again.
Yeah.
Like it hurt,
Yeah.
but like it was
And
worth it.
people are going to yell at you the whole time. How dare you? You are so selfish. That's what I get. You're so selfish for doing that. Someone just sent me a picture of my book on fire. They actually set my book on fire and sent me a picture.
Dude, but
So
you are doing something right if you're causing that much of a reaction, period. Like, right?
I have to say, when I saw the picture, all it did is make me go, fuck yeah, man.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
But like, why would that be selfish? How are people saying that?
People have been calling me selfish. There's a really popular YouTube figure that has called me selfish because I've brought this evidence forward about Epstein and Kushner and Trump. And the reason why she sees it as selfish is because I'm attacking, she feels like I'm attacking her belief in this white hat savior. I'm destroying the movie, the Long John Silver movie, because I'm coming into the theater going, that dude on screen is a pedophile.
Yeah.
And that horse over there is made into glue 5 minutes after the show.
Yeah.
And that motherfucker over there, that's what I'm doing. They see that and they're like, would you sit down? And I'm like, no.
No.
My kids are watching me. They're seeing what I'm going to. I don't have grandkids, by the way, but it's just, they're seeing what I'm doing with my life. I've already realized that this life is the way I've lost my father to this machine. My biological father. I've lost my wife to this machine. I've lost my time wasting it in academia. I've lost a great job working with kids that I just would have loved to keep, all to this fucking machine. Mm-hmm. And so I don't want to sit there and walk into a movie theater and listen to people bitch at me because I'm interrupting their wonderful time as they munch popcorn, trusting the plan, pretending like this magic freaking biblical dude that's named after a letter is going to fly out of the sky and save them.
Yeah.
It's the most selfish thing you can imagine, but they're the ones that are burning my books for saying this. They're the ones that are calling me selfish for saying these things.
It's selfless. It's
the hardest thing to do because I'm watching other authors that are selling books about Q and about the magic of Q, and they're pre-selling for like $100,000, Meanwhile, I'm selling like a couple of these a day tops, which thank you, by the way. Bless you all.
Right.
It's like if I wanted to rake it in, I would be writing this story about Ivanka Trump. We saw this photo. She's got this secret rebel flag bikini on, and she's going to rip off her blouse and go, I love America.
Yeah.
I'm taking my kids. And she would leave Jared Kushner and Trump planning the whole thing. And he's waiting outside in his gold helicopter. And Ivanka gets in the chopper and the cameras are there and she's hanging on the side and she's got her kids. And Jared's like, but you never had sex with me. And she's like, my body belongs to America.
Yeah.
This fantasy and sell $1 bazillion on it. Mm-hmm. But I don't want that. I want campfires. I want us to go camping, y'all. I want us to
truth.
I want to stop the New World Order, man. I want us to hang out in campfires. I want us to share. I want us to play guitar. I want us to make our own food. I want to live in a place where it's like, someone made a pie. I've never even heard of that. What the heck is in this? And it's like, that's how we're supposed to be doing this. We're supposed to be sharing our gifts with each other. We're supposed to be sharing our fire with each other. Instead, we're trading credits for the ability to meet at 7 p.m. on Friday, March 6th for an hour and a half while we have a brunch teaser and drink alcohol. Like that's what we're doing right now. And when I was living out of my van, I actually would cry a lot because no one was around. The only kids I find that were doing that were usually at a Grateful Dead show doing a lot of drugs.
Yeah.
And I joined the Dead too because it's like I wanted to connect with people my own age, but there were just so few of us. Most of the people my age were like, no, I got this Barca Lounger set from Sears. I got, I'm paying $35 a day from rent to own, and I got it. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. To me, I was crazy to them.
Yeah.
I didn't fit in. We need more weirdos.
We do. Dude, I just finished a little van journey. Part of it, I'm going to do more soon. But I also would cry a lot. And I kind of would sometimes be like, why am I crying? Like, I'm not sad, but it was the like ability to like stop for a moment and really reconnect, because you can do it in your daily life. You can like go outside and sit outside somewhere. You can go on a hike. But for like days on end being out in nature, and just remembering like, this is actually all there is. Like, all that other shit is just bullshit. And it's shit we have to deal with. I'm not saying like run away and hide in the forest forever, but remembering that was very powerful. And it also moved me to tears many times.
Yeah.
It was in a very positive way.
Yeah, me too. And that's That's our motor. Pain is
Mhm.
our motor. Anger is our motor. That's another thing. Someone was telling me today, well, you shouldn't get all angry. That's what bad guys do. It's like, no, that's what the media told you. They told you that toxic masculinity leads to anger. No,
Yeah.
your anger leads you to go, I don't like this anymore. I'm going to move. I'm
Yes.
not going to put up with this anymore. Anger is a natural reaction to injustice, guys.
Mhm.
It's supposed to if you have anger, that means you have a healthy ego. But I can't even say ego because first I have to explain to you, ego is a good thing.
Yeah.
It's telling you that it's a bad thing. But if they keep cutting off, this is what causes virtue signaling. This is why we're flogging each other in public because we've turned into masochists where it's like, no, I'm more racist than you are. No, I'm more racist. Oh, yeah, well, I'm racist and sexist. Oh, yeah, well, I have it, so I'm worse than, oh, y'all. No, I got white skin. I'm whiter than you. It's this masochistic flogging. This is what satanic devils do. Like when they're pleasing the devil, they're wandering around like beating themselves and laughing. That's why I call them hyenas. Most of society is that. What's weird is what we call reality, like what most of us call reality, that is the conspiracy theory. That really is the walking, living conspiracy theory that's all around us. This allegory of the cave is our federal government. We are watching their shadows on the wall. They are casting, and keep in mind, the government is actually the media. It's the media actually is in charge of our country, not the government.
Yeah.
The government is there to feed the livestock. They distribute food and they slaughter part of us. The people that own the ranch are the media. They're the ones that control us through the trance. Most of what your thoughts have now, and I get tired of people going, oh, no, not me. I don't have a TV. You don't get it, man. You don't freaking get it. You cannot live in this society without being exposed to this.
It's true.
It's impossible. And I'll give you a perfect example. A dude was in our town. I live in kind of a small town. And he was on horseback. And he had like natural clothes. And people started taking pictures of him on Facebook. And he got like harassed by the cops. They're like, what are you doing? And it was finally someone fessed up. No, this guy name's Mike. He's really nice. Blah, blah, blah. He's been living on horseback for years. They saw him as, oh my God, there's a wild animal. We have to call the cops a wild animal. Like a bear has come into town. We're going to need to call a wild animal. We're going to have him tagged. Like something that was human. That was just a natural free man. Like the living soil, a real man. And it scares the shit out of people.
Or threaten them, yeah.
It's like, what the fuck is that? Did you just see that? And it's like, oh, you mean the guy with the spine? Yeah. That's what's happening.
The guy who's actually free.
Yeah, that's how bad it is.
That is how bad it is. It's true. I mean, and also it's like a really small example, but like I have a TV. I don't have television, which is what I think most people mean. But I still watch YouTube and I still have Facebook. And I got on Facebook and I was like, Jeffrey Epstein is dead. Like and there was no way I was going to not be allowed to know that and the story of it and the conspiracy theories about it. Right? Of
course. Like, even if you had no devices, if you're going to participate with anyone else, you were exposed to their devices.
Yeah.
It's just, there's no way around it. It's impossible. Stop pretending that you're not mind control. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to your audience. Yeah. But stop pretending that because we all are. I am too.
We all are. Yeah.
There's no way. The only way I can get out of it, I know a way out of it, but I would have to have a lot of money before I could get there. And I don't see that happening in my life because I have to change to, if I get enough money, I'm going to buy these campsites everywhere. And then I'll just, now I can be traveling again and know that I'm going to be able to go to a place that isn't going to be covered in drugs, that I can just, participate with people that are doing cool stuff. So,
yeah. I love it. I love the vision. So I want you to share with people how they can find your books and more of you and where they should go to connect with you.
Blueprints of Mind Control, www.jtrue.com. J as in James, true.com. You can buy this and I will sign you a copy and mail it to you. I even give you a little magnet, kind of cool.
Oops.
For me, it's only $22. I put out a free column. The free column is sort of kind of, always has an ad in it to my book. That's how I'm able to do it. And luckily people have been buying my book. So the free column is basically what we talked about today would be an example of probably 3 columns kind of combined because we really jumped around.
Yeah.
But I try and keep the free column I usually read my podcast. I read my articles into a podcast. So it's not like a real podcast. It's more of like an audio reading of my articles because some people don't want to read. So I have that. You can subscribe to me. Look for James True, on any of those, however you find podcasts, you should be able to find me there. But mostly, please come to my website and subscribe. It's free. You'll get an email from me. It'll have these free articles in it, and it's just a nice thing to read. I hope you'll find it inspiring. It's not always, we got to kill the pyramid. It's not just about, here's how to tap into magic. Here's how to. I wrote about airships, the importance of imagining an airship. There's just a lot of different topics. So
yeah, it's very beautiful. It's a very beautiful site, and there's a lot of like philosophy and artistic elements sort of in it. And I really enjoyed poking around your site, and I'm definitely going to get your book. And you kind of cut out a little bit, but it sounded like you said you get a magnet with the book.
Yes.
Yeah. That sounds pretty cool too.
Yeah. So, like here's one. This is a sticker version. But it's like little sayings that'll kind of help you that are in there too. So, and I sign. I don't know if that helps you or not, but I sign the ones if you order from my website.
Oh, cool! So order through your website is the best way to do it.
And I just got invited to speak at Acapulco in February, which is awesome. So I'll be giving my first presentation on sovereignty. Probably is what I'll be talking about. So
how cool!
I'm really excited about that. Yeah.
That is super awesome. Yeah, and I'm going to look forward to perhaps collaborating with you, but definitely seeing your fire camps come to be.
I love it.
That is awesome.
Awesome.
So, fellow travelers of the path, it is a beautiful thing. This has been your analog, electric, concentric dose of wisdom, according to James True. James, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Shooting through the darkness like lightning in a void, we arc and jump all over this existence. When we connect, our storm clouds can unleash the forces of nature that cause everything in existence to tremble. Whatever is inside of each and every one of us holds the seed to the spark that will light up even the deepest darknesses of this plane, and it will happen at the perfect time. So don't ever fret. Remember to keep becoming ever more truly you, and keep connecting, keep the spark alive. Until next time, travel well, aim for balance, and always look inside first.